Peace and blessings, family. This is your boy Gerald. It is Friday, the 10th of November, 2017. How is everybody doing? First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to all those that had to lace up a pair of boots, don on a uniform, to drag a bag to a distant land, to make the ultimate sacrifice that separated you from your loved ones, as well as those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for your civil liberties. See, we living in a day, family, where there's so much distraction. There's so much false information being put out there to keep you unfocused. And as I put out a video earlier this week, if you blink twice, this next 6 months, you're going to be in the midst of late spring, early summer, and there is work that has to be done. Yes, this is the season. The devil's a liar. Give me a second. Right on up as soon as you turn this corner. Mm-hmm. Hey, give me a second. Let me call you back. Thank you, family. I've got responsibilities too. But there are certain things that I hold sacred, and there are certain things that I stand on. One is, yes, I too am a veteran. I too understand why the colors found in that tapestry known as our flag, as well as what is being illustrated in society, the right for free speech, the right to assemble, the right to live your life. I understand, even though I don't agree with a lot of the illustration, which is deemed bad behavior, the illustration of what manhood is about, the illustration of what womanhood is. Well, to understand your future, you must understand your past. But more importantly, understand the foundation that you stand upon too. Yes, this is not about thee and they and the powers that be. We're talking about you. And one of the things that keep us from being we collectively is the fact that the tone, the dialogue. A lot of people do a lot of this, but don't see the importance of what comes from out them the sacred lips, your beautiful self. They don't see the responsibility of the illustration of what you convey, yet the influence that it's going to have, not only for the people that are in your environment, but the people that are going to come behind you. Maybe this is the reason influence through social illustration is the way it is. And I'll break it down real quick because this is only a fraction of why I'm putting this video out. Do you realize if you made the choice to not only fall in love with who you are, but invest in who you are, you wouldn't have distractions to begin with. They would all be just simple validations of your point of reference, what you stand for. For example, why is it every time that we have movies, music that strike a chord to a certain demographic, you see the examples of it play out for a period of time. I'll be more specific. I can remember back. I'll go back as far as 83. 83. This was an era of pop music. A lot of the influence was coming from the East, referring to Europe. There was a lot of technology, a lot of synthesizer type music. And the influence was infectious. And you started to see a lot of people take note and follow the leader. 2 years later, hip hop was birthed in New York City, Harlem, Brooklyn, Long Island, Queens. It was unique, it was organic. And the influence was so great from the first needle drop, the first beat, it took root all over the world. You didn't have people wanting to be b-boys. You didn't have people that wanted to learn the 5 arts of hip hop, being in graffiti, breakdancing. You didn't have this influence, but it was organic. Fast forward, movies started to take note of the influence and the power of this influence. In Hollywood, they started to brainstorm. They said, well, hey, if we put out a certain type of storyline, we can also attract a certain type of revenue back. And they started to focus on certain types of movies. Also, back then, there was still structure. You had your movie ratings, R, PG, G, and that was okay. Then the blurred line started to affect later on in the early 90s. And they said, well, hey, you know what? I want to convey a certain story, but I want to add this to the narrative. But I want to reach a certain audience in the process. I want to be able to reach those that understand, but not really able to sit in an adult audience. And then the birth of PG-13, even the rating of NR. They did it all for this. If there was no money in it, there would be no attention. If there was no attention, guess what? Why would they focus? Because they already knew. They already knew. They knew the value of your attention span, and they already knew that the average person's attention span ranges from 3 to 5 seconds. It's not intended for everybody. But what matters is what matters to you. Fast forward, they said, well, you know what? We want to go and make more money because now advertisers are starting to see the correlation between putting a pretty face or a strong image to push a certain narrative, a certain product, a certain agenda. And they knew that it would be consumed without any pushback. So you start to look at how the programming found in a TV show on a channel has drastically changed over the years. I remember there was a time where no matter what the storyline was, it was conveyed without cursing. And if it had cursing, it was only a certain kind of words that you could use, or it will be pulled. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny now in 2017. There is no regards to your children. They're not caring about what they see because they also know that the greatest consumer is found here by what you will condone. And what I'm trying to get you to understand is this: that same playbook is making a whole lot of people money, and there's no regard to it. For example, why is it every time that a show comes on, no one sees a correlation of the agenda? And what I mean by that is every show has a certain propaganda piece that it fills. Why? Because they're trying to attract a certain demographic of people. Don't believe me? Watch this. Remember a couple years ago, and I'm going to be fair, but I got to put this one out because this jumps in my mind right off the bat. Remember about 2, 3 years ago, you had a show called Sons of Anarchy. Hit the screen, and it was a big hit. And what did you see? You had middle-aged men acting like little school children, running to the nearest motor shop, cycle dealer. Everybody wanted to be that guy or that gal that had that vest on, that had that certain hairstyle, certain facial features. Everybody wanted to follow the leader because it was the end thing. But let's be fair, because they did that with the minority group too. Yes, they did. You don't remember? It was called Biker Boys. Minorities have always done the same as everybody else, but it was deliberate. It was deliberate. You didn't see as many minorities out there riding motorcycles until after that movie dropped. Same thing with today with the Fast and the Furious franchise. What happened? Everybody had to get a certain car. They had to. So who wins out of that? The people that make the parts, the people that make the brands, the people that make the accessories. Now, from a financial standpoint, those people are not complaining because they're making hand over fist because of you and your attention. I'll do one better. Let's go back 2 years ago. What was the talk that was going on? 2 years ago, the main energy being put out nationally was, hey, you don't have the right to infringe on my right to bear arms. Notice that dialogue has been so demarginalized these last 2 years. But 2 years ago, that was the hottest topic in the world. And what was going on at that time? Because, everybody has to play their part. You had a gang of movies in Hollywood that glamorized certain type of weaponry, but they don't complain about that. Now, let's be honest. The most mass killings and mass murders, vigilantism is found in Hollywood. It's the movies that we attend. That's always how it's been from the early 30s. It's always about the cowboys against the Indians, or it was always about the good guy versus the bad guy, right? Who benefited from that? The media. Why? Because you frequent that, you support that. You might not realize that directly, but indirectly you do because you pay to attend. So let's fast forward. So the hot topic was, oh, you were trying to take away my right to bear arms. No, it wasn't that. It was a call to be responsible because let's be truthful about this. Everybody has a right to protect themselves. Everybody. But I've never seen a weapon kill someone without the person pulling the trigger. And usually 9 times out of 10 is a derivative of fear. Fear was the emotional influence. Irresponsibility was the second. So what happened? Supply and demand. I spoke about this 2 years ago, and I said somewhere there's a boardroom with people sitting at a table looking at a profit sharing chart. And every time there is something that is being narrated in your news, they make money. Do you think that with the tragedy that just happened in Texas, that people are going to stop going and purchasing weaponry? No, they're not. If anything, it's going to increase because of fear. Fear, fear. Finally, everything's a reality. Let's fast forward a little more, just a year. Year ago, we had the movie that was I think his name was Chris Gaines, American Sniper. And why is it that after that movie came out, a lot of masks came off? A lot of non-minorities that had insecurities about themselves said, hey, that movie strikes a chord for me. And what did they do? They went in droves and bought those big F-150s and Chevys and sunk all their money into it. Now, this is not about what you drive. It's about your state of mind. They went on and got the trucks. They went on, got their, they got that nice little fire locker and started buying weapons and started arming themselves to the teeth, even though in reality, you can only shoot one at a time or two at a time, depending on your skill set. But guess what? Now more than ever, the filters have come off. Now more than ever, the blurred lines are crystal clear. It's about this. It always has, always will be. So this brings me to this video. And I hope that you take this in mind. Now, at the end of the day, you got to live your life, right? So if you're going to live your life, why won't you live it the best that you can? Why won't you make a decision that, hey, look here, I give a damn about my future. I definitely did give a damn about how I'm perceived, and say, hey, you know what? Today is the day I'm going to invest in me. Do you realize 50% of the people that hear that will still choose to be miserable? You know why? Because they find comfort in taking a position of being a victim. And there's a reason why I'm saying this. As long as you choose to stay the course that you're in, everything that you've gone through to this point is in vain. That disrespect that boyfriend did to you, it's in vain. That neglect that you felt as your parents, it was all in vain. Until you decide, I got more to live for. Even if you take it from a indirect approach of, it ain't about me, Gerald, it's about my babies. Okay, but guess what? Something that people never talk about. I don't know why people don't talk about this. The greatest influence a child has is its parents, or the people that the child has access to. It is no secret. The 5 influential people in a child's life make up their mindset. They're the living illustration of what growth is about. So if you are raised in an environment where there's dysfunction, if you are raised in an environment where alcoholism reigns, if you were a latchkey kid, because a lot of us was, you had to raise yourself. You realize how many people that are adults today silently have this insecurity, but they have this justification that the reason they're the way they are is because they didn't have the support that they needed back then. It's time to break that cycle, family. It's time. Because guess what? That also is a direct correlation why your financial standings is the way it is as well. Who am I talking to? You don't like how your money is? Is your money being funny? You want to change it? Change your outlook. Invest in yourself. I know it sounds more easier said than done, but the greatest education you're going to ever find is not found on a college campus. It's found inside you. That is also the greatest archive as well. That's your life story. And I'm not trying to be cynical, because no man knows the moment nor the time. But when that time comes, it will be classified in a hash mark found on your memorial tombstone. This is truth. This is truth. It's not about how many people you have screwed. King, they've set that lie. They've told you that lie when you were younger. They said, well, you know, the road to manhood is sowing your oats. But truth of the matter is, if you realize, the longer you sow your oats, the more disillusion is embraced. the more non-clarity is embraced. You know why? Because that essence is connected to your spirit, and your spirit is very powerful. So they want to keep you. They want to keep you depleted, because as long as you keep yourself depleted, Queen, you're not going to see the value of you. So they like the fact that you're just spreading them like the golden arches, but you rationalize it because social standards is I'm going to do whatever I want with whoever I want, whenever I want. But to have that, then that's basically saying, well, whatever it comes with, whatever you want, is part of the territory. Why can't your territory be smooth? Why does your environment always got to be bumpy? Somebody woke up this morning with a reality check. You didn't think in a million years that that person would do you that way or say something that way. And it shook you. You know why? Because they know something from the first hello. They already knew what they could do, how they can do it, and how you would respond as well. So I'm asking each and every intended ear, intended heart, intended mind, how much you gonna go through, or how much you willing to give up until you decide to come on back home. Come on back home to you. Because as long as you invest in your alter ego, as long as you continue to invest in your insecurity, it's in vain. I don't think that's fair. So let's look at it from a different perspective. If you, that's why you hear celebrities always use the retort of, I'm not your role model, your parents are. Yeah, but if you had self-respect for yourself, you wouldn't have to use that as a disclaimer. But that's what puppets on a string do. And after they keep dancing for a while, guess what? They find a new one that's more gullible to continue the agenda, to keep you distracted. Meanwhile, STDs continue to increase. And you know what also decreases? Reproduction. See, they don't tell you that, Queen. They like the fact that you burn your candles on both ends, knowing the reality is as long as you keep doing that, you cut the probability of you being a mother by a fourth. They love that because you do have some people that their position is the world's too overcrowded. Too many people on this planet. We need to do something about it. Meanwhile, the seven deadly sins are put right in your face and you don't even see it. But right now, this is the greatest example of what gluttony is on all aspects of your five senses. Because their thing is, hey, I'll just put it out there. I'm just putting it out there. It's not my responsibility if they decide to partake upon it. But if you really gave a damn about the people, not your financial standings, maybe you would change what you put out. But they'll never tell you that because they like you to be deaf, dumb, and blind. They love that. They love that. And see, this morning, it's getting cold here in Virginia Beach. Um, as I was taking the clothes out of my washing machine and putting it in the dryer. God put something in my spirit. And so you understand that what is being shown is nothing new than what has been done. I didn't understand why that was in my spirit. And then it dawned on me. You do understand that for the last 3 to 5 years, almost 4 for sure, the agenda was what? Equality. There's been a lot of dialogue about equality, right? And you've seen a lot of emphasis for equality for those who represent the alternative lifestyle. You see it. You see it in your commercials. You hear it in your songs. You see it in your entertainment. Why? They're not doing it because of the people that feel that certain mindset. They're doing it to attract their revenue. And they know that there's power in numbers. They know that. They know that. You think God's in that? Nope. Because they live for man, not for God. So if they're not living for God, then who are they living for? Come on. Come on. And then it made me think a little deeper because I realized that the same approach was used 15, no, almost 20 years ago. Same thing. And it was for equality for those who had disabilities. Some of y'all remember there was a big uproar on the expression of people being highly challenged, overweight, as well as a lot of focus. Don't call me a midget. Don't call me a dwarf. I'm highly challenged. And there was a lot of emphasis put on that. How soon we forgot about that? It's the same tactic that's going on right now in the alternative community. Oh yeah. So now the strategy is we're going to make sure that we are represented from the highest office in the land. And I'm referring to Congress. And they are. But you also know, excuse me, the God's not in that too. And this is very evident as well, because what is going on now? What is going on in a town near you, in a city near you, in a state near you? People are telling. I'm going to go tell. You did this. I didn't know I could say something about it, so I'm going to do it now. Now, this is not to demarginalize any type of abuse. Please don't take it as such, because abuse is abuse, no matter what form or who. But I think it's kind of ironic that, like, we'll use Bill Cosby. I personally believe that whole thing with Bill Cosby was to more or less to control not only his financial standings, but to send a message to shut the hell up, to stay in your place. But here's the ironic part on that as well. Because I heard Charlemagne, the guy from the Breakfast Club, mentioned something today. He said, you know, I was not aware that I was raised in a rape culture. Okay. He mentioned that today. And it made me think, okay, so if you're having that epiphany now, are you just going to disregard the choices you've made? Is that to marginalize the, you know, is that just the, you know, the end all be all? And, well, you know, I didn't know. So, you know, hey, you know, and here's the reason what I'm the reason why I'm pointing this out. Because you always hear people say, well, knowing the law, not knowing the law is no excuse. But shouldn't that weight fall on your influence? Shouldn't that fall on the people that have your best interest in your development? How about the moment that you had finally your own sense of self, when the awareness kicked in and said, hey, that ain't right? If you chose to condone it, you know, think about it. And I want to throw this out there because right now there's a feast for all going on, and you've gotten all these. It's no secret, you know. Everybody knows that. Hey, that's how Hollywood has always got down ever since the beginning of them making movies. That's how it was. They had the power. You want the role? This is what's required. And it's no different in any type of law, any type of business. A lot of them got down that way. I'm not condoning this. I'm showing you the narrative of the example. How you think that some of these wars were fostered? Pillow talk. How do you think that some of these deals were established? Oh, there were some late night dinners. There was some gift giving. Oh yeah. But see, we make light of that all the time when we see it in the movies. Like, oh, you always see the guy that does the mover and the shaker and say, well, you know what? Find out what he likes and what she likes, and then you send them a gift. It used to be illustrated as a bottle of expensive brandy or something, but that was nothing but a metaphor. That was served as a tool. Whatever I need to convince you to jump on board so you can serve my agenda, I'm going to do. So ultimately, that person never had your best intentions anyway. I don't know why that's such a surprise. And what's going on is we are we are birthing a culture of hypersensitive people. And I'm gonna tell you how it starts. It started the moment that a certain demographic of people said, well, you know what? You know, okay, here you go. You know how you would hear people say, well, you know, we want to give them a ribbon for participating. You ain't got to do enough, but because you showed up, we want to acknowledge you. And that has been fostered through adulthood. And I'll be honest with you on this. I believe all these executives that are, you know, because this is nothing but what God has said all, you know, He's always said this from day one. What is done in the dark comes to the light. So, how do you expect your life to turn out a certain way if you're the first person who turns your back on you? How do you expect your destiny to be revealed to you if you won't invest in you? Shortcuts only cut your life short, family. So get out of your feelings. Get out of your way and get back to what matters most. That little boy, that little girl that is still inside you. I don't care if you're 65 years old. You are for why you think they use the term forever young? Referring to the little boy and the little girl that lives inside you. Your true self. But you have some people that have found a way through life and said, well, look here, I didn't have to do all that. But I still have this, I still have these accolades and I didn't have to do none of that. You think they ain't suffering in silence? You think they don't have they got a closet full of chicken bones, skeletons? They do. That's why most people that are prominent are the most insecure, the most paranoid as well. That's why you have a gated community. Why? Because you're afraid. What are you afraid of if you're living your life right? Hmm? If you're waking up this morning with frustration on your mind, you're killing yourself slow. Did you hear me? If you woke up this morning with frustration in your mind, you are killing yourself slowly. You ain't living. This ain't a slam. Because I know you got some people that they're going to pick apart what I say. Just know God love you. I don't have to do this. I am compelled to do this from him. You know how they say, don't look at the messenger, but hear the message. It's just validating what you've already known. So it doesn't matter if you listen to me. You still have to look to the person that matters most, and it's you. That's what I'm saying. Now let's fast forward. It's getting cold, y'all. It's getting cold. This is a great time to go ahead and change up to purge some things. Maybe this is the moment that you said, you know what, Gerald? I ain't doing the club no more. I'm tired of the club. It's the same routine with the same people. And I don't get nothing out of it but a bunch of headaches. Why do you think that the clubs are in the dark? Why do you think they're in the dark? Why do you think that everything is always distorted as well? Because if the lights were on, you would have clarity, and 9 times out of 10, you wouldn't even frequent that. That's why everything is done in the dark. Even when they take your money. This is not no slam on what you choose to entertain yourself. Just be responsible about it. Because I'm gonna tell you, you know who has the most fun at a club? I'll give you a second to figure that out. You know who has the most fun in the club? It's the club owner, and they ain't even there. Same as the owner of the laundromat. The clothes stay clean. Why? Because it is a business. So why won't you make your life your number one business? Only you can do it. Now, meanwhile, let's talk about them finances. You think now you might change up the approach of how things have been? Because that's how people that they learned that a long time ago. They learned that before they stepped out, the importance of that note. And they also realized how to make it work. So if you don't like your environment, change your mindset. Change it. What you got to lose? Oh, I'll tell you what you got to lose. Growth. Now, I know there's going to be some people, they're going to say, Gerald, you're right. You know, I've heard this time and time again. And the truth of the matter is, I was afraid. Okay, that's all right. You don't need nobody's permission to grow. You don't need nobody's permission to change. But guess what? Most change is done behind closed doors. And what I mean, not on a literal sense, it starts within yourself. It's like it is that seed. You plant that seed, cultivate it with your environment. That means you're going to have to be responsible and look at it for what it's worth. If the people that you find fellowship in are not building, are not inspiring, they're in the way. And here's the sad part about it. They already know that. And the fact that you allow access to your life, they're basically telling you through their actions that you don't matter. Did you hear what I said? You don't matter to them. So maybe that's why the disrespect is, or the way they talk to you is in a certain tone compared to others. It's no different than being a new toy. And what happens after new toys? After it's lost its luster, it is forgotten. That's not your life. It's not your life. It never was. Now, Queen, you know I love you. I'm going to tell you this again. Stop looking for inspiration on what you see and look within yourself. You spend over $1 billion a year in beautification process, but your greatest glow comes within yourself. You don't like what is perceived? Well, guess what? The greatest statue started at a certain position, and the rough parts were broken off. This takes time. No different than a sparkly diamond. That diamond at one time was a lump of coal. And that lump of coal was buried deep. That, well, guess what? That metaphor is more or less within yourself. Your hopes, your dreams, your directions have to be pulled out of you. And they only are pulled out through what? Influence. What's influencing you? What's got your focus? What is your importance? Where did it come from? Think about it. Only you can answer that. I can't pull it from you, but I hope you get it. I hope you get there. Meanwhile, you're going to constantly have people that are going to do this. I can't believe she looked like that. And I can't believe look at this. And he got that. And I can't believe that they have. Who cares about that? But what's funny, you think they care about what you think? Because the truth of the matter, no matter if they're riding for Satan or the Most High, they got to answer for it. They got to answer for it. But the constant example plays out all the time. Those who are first will be made last, and those who are made last will be made first. So when those people fall hard, like the day star, like Lucifer fell to earth, it's their choice to lay there or get up. So you woke up this morning. When you're going to wake up to your real life. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, for that, it helps me discern mine. If you don't know what discernment is, you don't understand who you are. And oh yeah, let me throw this out because someone asked me about, you know, a lot of people are starting to take note about. I know y'all heard about, there's a lady in California that wants to have the national uh, anthem redone because of the racist narrative of what the lyrics were about. Now, keep in mind who wrote it and the time it was written. Okay, but if we're going to speak truth, right, then we have to speak truth from where the beginning. The beginning is quite simple. Aboriginal people were already here. Maybe that's the reason why the penny is the color it is. And you'll notice when you look at change, they all look one direction and the penny looks the other. But here's the big one. You know why the penny is one? Because that's society trying to tell you we were first. Be blessed. But more importantly, be you. You're worth it.